There we go. And everybody should be seeing my screen. And trading forex and exchange on margin carries a high level of risk and may not be suitable for all investors. The high degree of leverage can work against you as well as for you. Before deciding to invest in foreign exchange, you should carefully consider your investment objective, level of experience, and risk appetite. The possibility exists that you could sustain a loss of some or all of your initial investment, and therefore you should not invest money that you cannot afford to lose. You should always be aware of the risks associated with the foreign exchange trading. Seek advice from an independent financial advisor if you have any doubts. This is a live trading room and is for educational purposes only. No financial advice or recommendations will be provided. Any trade taken during this live session is not a recommendation or suggestion that you should also do the same. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Do not trade money you cannot afford to lose. And before trading live, always operate with a written trade plan that identifies rules for entries, exit targets, and risk management. And having said that, let's go to the charts. And right now we have a US CAD trade. Now keep in mind that I'm not a big fan of trading on Monday mornings, but that doesn't mean that there aren't some good trades on Mondays. But a lot of times that there's just a lot of positioning early in the week, and then it takes off for during the week, and then it takes the profits at the end of the week. So a lot of times on Mondays, you just see a lot of positions being taken. But having said that, we have a US CAD that was at 6:15 this morning. And let me go to a 15-minute chart. We'll see how I drew this. And what I was looking to see what happened overnight, see if I could find a significant high or significant low between this blue line and where the alert happened. And I had to go back, and it was an ascending wedge. So I started with my A down below and I'd like to try and find 3 points. I could have taken all the way back to this area here. And I may have had my third point here. Here's the anchor, here's a hit. So here's my main trend line right here. I just decided to tighten this up just a little bit more up to this area. Just to give us a little bit more of a range. So, but anyway, we did have a nice three-point trend line. We did get a little bit of a break just a few minutes ago, but we'll see what happens with that. Looking at the upper part, I'm looking for a pivot high, which I went all the way back to Friday's pivot high. And I noticed that there's this little bit of a supply zone in here where so I had the high, here is a low, here is a lower high, here is a higher low. So that's where I drew my triangle. But I also want to respect the fact that from this candle right here on up, it's all wicks. And you can see where the wicks came up. This is before the alert, where it came up, tested this area, couldn't hold it. Came up, tested it, couldn't hold it. Came up, tested, couldn't hold it. And after the alert, you see it came up, tested it, couldn't hold it, and now it's looking to try and break out of the bottom. So so I'm looking at this area where this red box is as being somewhat of a trap, where they're coming up, and unless it can break through the top of that, it's just going to keep on being rejected. And I don't know what kind of strength we have, but anyway, that's how I drew the wedge. And we'll just see, and you can see also inside after the alert, there was a little bit of a pivot. So we have a high, a low, a lower high, a higher low, lower high, or equal high. And now we had a little bit of a break right here off this big red candle. So I'm looking for this thing to break to the downside. It did test it right there a little bit just before we started the session here. You can see it broke. Here's my two pip zone. Came back up, and here was this was the area where if it came down and got us in, which I did get into this trade, this is my area that I'm looking for to be rejected. We had a little bit of drop. We had a little bit of a small blue candle in here. Another drop, came into below the wedge, broke the wedge. Now it's coming up to retest this area. So right now this is a relatively significant area to be paying attention to. We have a drop. There's a little bit basing here, another drop, basing. Came up, now tested this area, right at the top of this wick. You see where it's respecting the 62 on the 1 minute chart. So if it comes back in, this may just be a nice little pullback before it comes on down to retest. Now it's got to break through this where I put my C. It's got to break through that, and that's where the first target would be. Thing I don't like about this trade is the target is barely 7 pips. If it breaks here, we only have 6.5 pips to the first target, but it's maybe worth taking a trade. Again, I caution anybody to take trades on Monday mornings. I'm taking this one for demonstration purposes primarily. We'll see what happens with it. That's not to say that there aren't some good trades that will develop, but you just want to don't be too greedy. No, be careful with your entries, and take it from there. Right now, we're looking at the CAD is still stronger. So CAD being the second currency of the pair, we're looking at the strength of the CAD driving this thing short. You see how this thing came in, gave us a red candle close in the wedge. And then we got the blue candle, but the blue candle never really looked back. That's on the 5 minute. Now on the 2 minute, on the 1 minute chart, we did get the close below. Here's a blue candle. Here would have been where the entry would have more than likely have been, right about in this area off of this blue candle. I think this mark this as an entry to sell. And we'll see if this thing come down, give us another entry into here. Any questions so far? I know this is happening a little bit fast, but when these alerts come, we can't dawdle too much with them. So I'll wait and see what happens with this. Right now, all the pressures are still pretty much the 8 RSI is still a little bit lagging here. It's still in that 40-60 range, which I don't particularly like that. I like to see that come out of that below that 40. And right now you see it's still kind of being, no, that trend line is still being respected to a certain point. This could have been a head fake for this thing to go up higher. But our moving averages, and actually you also see here on the 62 on the 15 minute, there's the 62 where you see where it's right at the bottom of the zone. Nice drop, a little bit of a basing, came up, tested this. Now we'll see if it can break through the bottom of where the 62 is. That's going to give us a little bit of a problem, I believe, but we'll see what happens. It did close, it did break it, but didn't close below it. But all of our moving averages on our 5 minute are all in a line. On 1 minute, it's all in a line. And now we're starting to get the break of this 40-60 range on the RSIs. So we'll just wait and see what happens. 1 minute's inside our entry zone. We'll see if we can get a close on there. You can see this is actually forming somewhat of another little secondary wedge right here on the 5 minute chart. We came up, tested this area, couldn't break through that. So we actually have another little bit of a wedge right here. And it's going to, I'll start like from there to here. I'll flatten it out up to the top. And I'll bring this on down to parallel with that red line. We'll see if we can break through that. If it breaks to the bottom of this, we could be looking to testing here. And then here's where the A is. So that's going to be the secondary target right down there if it can break through all this area. Right now, everything's looking good to the short side. It doesn't have a lot of strength right in here, but we'll see what happens. This is a new 5-minute candle. This red candle right now, it's a new 5-minute candle. We got 4 minutes still before it closes. I'd like to remind everybody, if you have any questions or comments, if you put them in the question answer box, we might be more apt to see them. I've got Eva here to help me this morning to keep an eye on that.
Good morning, everyone. Nice to see Handel in the room this morning.
Oh, well, let's see if I can see some of our attendees here. Oh, Handel, yes. Nice to see you, Handel. Haven't talked to you for a while. See, Pete's here. Here's the break. There's a nice little break right here. It's still trying to close. Where'd my cursor go? Here it is. And this candle closes, and I'm going to go ahead and now I'm going to do so I can get into this thing short. Oh, I thought I had this all set up here. This would be the entry. Wait till this red candle turned with very little bit of a wick. As soon as this blue candle turns red, you can take that trade. That's a nice little drop. It's based and we're in. You can also see that, here's my spread. Right now we have almost a 2.2 pip spread on this. So it's going to make your 7 pip target. If it gets down to this first target, which is where your RC is, all the way over here. Like I said, this is just a secondary, wedge that I was looking at. So I'm just going to take that off. It's just for illustration purposes. And we'll see.
Yeah. Sorry.
That's okay. And we'll see what happens here. Everything is still, all the RSIs are below the 40%. We have all of our whole moving averages are good. A little bit of a flip on here, but again, this is the 1 minute chart. Let's see what it looks like on the higher time frames. Take a watch it on from the 5 minute here. Let's see what our fib lines look like. Not much to go hang our hat on with that right now. If it comes up and breaks this zone right here, then I would say then something's not right, and it's probably going to go up and maybe test this one again. So I said, don't give it a whole lot of room. You got in down here, that's at 80. Up here is 84. You're still only looking at 5 pips. I try and keep it within a 7 to 10 pip range. Yeah, so far, so good. So far, still looking okay, even though we had this nice big blue wig. That was where the first possible entry was. But right now, everything still seems to be. I like to see it get a close below this, the bottom of this blue candle. It's still struggling. There's a little bit of some buyers are down in this area. This is an area where the buyers are kicking in, but we got to chew up all these buy orders before it's going to come down and come down to this area right here. This will be the next area of interest, right over in this, down in here. This will be the next area of interest right here where the C is. So it's struggling just to get past this little 2 pip range that we have marked off here with the wedge. I like to see it close below this entry zone. Again, we're on the 5-minute chart, so let's look. We have about 1 minute and 38 seconds left. This thing has the potential of going all the way down here to this 3362 area. It may take a while till it gets there. Let's see how it's doing on that 62. Okay, right now on the 15-minute exponential 62 moving average, it looks like we're going to get a close. Just reached that significantly and coming down to our first target area.
It's a nice candle.
Yeah. We can get a close on that in another 17 seconds. We'll see what kind of a wick it leaves us here. If it leaves us a real short wick, that would be a good thing. If it comes back and really strong, comes back with a strong wick, then that's not going to, we may want to, just hold tight, I guess. We're just about to break even with our entry. A little bit better than I have about 1 pip range on my entry with the different brokers. Like I said, you're usually going to get at least a half to 1 pip greater spread on with the Wanda. We had the break of this zone right here, which is good. Right now, we can just kind of follow this moving average. I don't want to see it close above this yellow line. If it closes above the yellow line, I'll probably just bail on this. And it's coming down, testing that zone. Move this up to this area right in here. No, that's only 2 pips, so I'm going to cancel that. And try and at least get our 7 pips out of this thing. Well, at least we're at least profitable in our trade.
It's really thinking about it there, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It says got to get through this C area before, and this is where the A started. And if it can break through that, it's got a long way to go down before it reaches another significant area. Let me say we had this entry right in here, so we'll see if it comes back and retests that. It broke it once was support, it's now resistance. And we'll see if it can hold that. Coming up is retesting our zone. Still have weakness on the 15. The cat's still showing we have our 3-point, well, just went to a 2-point spread. And right now the CAD and the US are of the 8 currencies that we look at, they're the second and fourth weakest of the bunch. Either one has strong dominance over the other one right now. So this area right here has been broken both ways. So we're going to take that off. It doesn't have significance anymore. And you can see we have a little bit of a trend line developing right here. We'll see if this thing gets broken. We have a high, a low, lower high, lower low. Now it's coming up to retest this area. Still within our 2 pip range of the bottom of the wedge. Another another little bit less than 4 minutes. We'll see if this orange 62 on the 15-minute chart, if it can close above or below it. This is a pretty strong wick right here. On this 15-minute candle, it came all the way down here. It's coming back up. Still has 4 minutes to go before we'll see how it closes. Right now, I'd be looking at this area right here for a range. Checking it on the 15-minute chart. Here's the body of the candle. Here's the wick. Strong move down, base, came back up, retested this big red candle. Can only go up about that far, and then it's starting to, then it recorrected. So right now, this is the range where it's in right now, which is about let's see what the range is here. From here to the bottom here, that's only just shy of 9 pips. Any questions while we're waiting for this thing to develop? Feel free.
It's Monday morning. Everybody's still waking up.
Yeah, everybody's still awake, myself included. It says still hanging inside this zone. It's we've got some areas that it's trying to challenge. Again, once I get into the trade, I kind of like going over to the 5-minute, keeps the emotions down a little bit. As they're still looking at this as the area, this is still our area of supply. It hasn't broken through that. Plus, we have a moving average right up in this area. What I'm looking for, I'm looking to see where we had the red body. I want to see it. I don't want to. Well, I don't want to see it close. If I'm going short, I don't want to see it go beyond this box right here. If it breaks this top of this wick, then we're looking up this area, right in this area. So right now, as long as it can stay inside or below this red box here, we're okay. And once it breaks that, then we're looking at getting up even higher and maybe come on up and retesting the top of where we originally had the original wedge where this was tested. That's so far still looking okay. Still staying below the 62 on the 5-minute, 13 on the 5-minute, still staying below both of that. We've got a little bit of a hook coming in here where it's challenging, but it's not unusual to see the screen 5-period exponential moving average come up and just stay underneath that yellow one as it challenges it. Right now, it's going to retest this box right up in here. One of the problems with an ascending wedge is that as it breaks the wedge, it has higher to go before it actually goes back into the wedge because this thing's sloping upward. I prefer to see it sloping downward, and so that the wedge just keeps getting lower and lower as you're going short. Oh, Christine, I see you're in the room. I shall promote you to a panelist and allow you to talk. Get a couple extra eyes on the chat box.
Oh, it's moving slowly. I'm not particularly
Yeah,
fond of this pair.
well, like I said, this is one reason why I mean, Mondays are, the charts seem to be about as sluggish on Mondays as a lot of times people are. I said this would still work out to be a good trade. It's just that it's going to take, it seems to be taking its sweet time. Very, very relatively tight ranges here. And we're talking only in the last, probably within the last hour, it's only been ranging about 8 to 10 pips. $8.30, a lot of times things start popping a little bit more. So once we can get a close below this green box, we should be good down to this area, to the where the A is. And here's our blue candle. So basically, again, what we're looking for, what I'm looking for, is where you have a wick. You come over here and see where the wick's up. So this would be the next, actually this would be the next area of possibility. The fact this was a significant pivot low, I'm going to bring it all the way down to here. And I'm going to respect this. We have these red candles coming down. We have a pivot. We have the blue candles that broke. This is origin of this big move. And so once it broke this red candle, the top of the body of this red candle, so I'm going to use this area right in here as my area of interest. And let's see if there's any fib line. And we have this fib line right below here, which is a little bit lower than this box. But if you come over, so if you come over to this area, you can see where this was on our let's go on a 15-minute chart, and then make it a bit easier to see it. So here's where the A was. And you can see that once, see this nice big blue candle. So once it breaks through this A, it's almost clear sailing all the way down to this point right down here. I'm gonna mark that off. Make this green. And let's see if there's a fib line anywhere close by there. Nope, still not, still way down. Of course, this is sort of like a rally. Came all the way up, fairly decent base there, look over wick area. But this was still pretty much of a straight shot. So, and then this down here would be the next one. You'll mark that right in this area. Here's a little wick over wick. But we've got a lot of room to go before it gets down that far. At least we're marking our zones to see where the bounces could possibly come from. Looks like the price is coming back down into this region, right? See if we can break through this where the C pivot is. Coming back down to retest that demand zone. We'll see if we can break through this time. If we can break through that, there's a good chance we'll get our 7 pips here. We have all of our RSIs and our hulls all showing in the right direction. We have a 3-point spread on the CAD US. Just has to get through this little bit of some buyers keep popping in up in there. It's got to chew up all these buy orders.
Have you heard from Matt at all?
I have not.
He's enjoying the new baby.
Yeah. Probably getting a lot of sleepless nights.
I'm sure. Better him than me.
Yeah. This is looking like it's got a little bit of strength to get down here. Another, where's it? Is just closed. Yep, just closed. New candle. No wick at all. Very little wick on this red candle. So this could be a nice little drop, base a little bit, and then drop again. I think this thing's going to keep on falling through.
That would be nice.
It says, so let's get through this wick here and get it closed below this sea level. And then the next stop is going to be pretty much down in this area. Another way we can measure the ranges and measure the expected or the potential, I should say, of the move after it breaks the wedge, is we have what we call a stick, and that's basically what we do is to take as you try and take like the level from inside the wedge. Either you can go from the A to the D or D to C, take your pick. I usually like to go from the more conservative one, say like the C to the D area. So what I'll do is I'll put a trend line. I'll follow this all up to where I get a tick here and make this into a stick where it's just a matter of finds the range. And we take this and right where it broke out of the wedge, this would be the potential target, which is right down here by our green fib line. Also probably take this out here. If we measure that distance, we're looking at potential 20 pips potentially. And we'll see how that works. So right now it broke the C. So this one's done. And take this off. And now we still have our area here for the A as our target. And if it can break that, then we're going to be looking at a bounce off of this green line. Let's see if it closed that 15-minute. Did it close below that? Still not. Actually, this one didn't close below. It closed, but now this nice move is taking it all out. So right now this thing is, we don't have all the moving averages in the correct direction off of this 15, but it's getting there. We're almost down to our 7 pip target. And then we also see that we have a 30-minute 62 exponential moving average. This is the exponential 62 reference to a 30-minute chart. We just have it super overlaid onto the 1 minute. We actually have it for the 5 and the 15 as well. And we're almost there. Another little push and we'll have our target. And remember, it has to pass the target by the amount of the spread in order to get the target filled. That's where a lot of times I will, once it comes and tags it, and if we get a blue candle, I'll just close it out. It still may come back up and then take it out, but I've got a nice little profit there. I'm just going to go and close it out. I don't like giving up 6.5 pips trying to get that last half a pip and have it come all the way back and stop me out or give up. It's anywhere between 5 and 7 pips. If you can get that, that's we're looking for 5 pips, so we use 7 pips for the to cover for the spread. But if it comes down, just tags your target and just can't quite seem to penetrate through it, then just go ahead and I just take my profit and lock in my 5 pips and move on to the next trade. It doesn't mean it's not going to go down another 20 pips, but better to take a five. No, you never lose money taking profits early. And still no other alerts. And good morning, Christine. Thanks for coming. And since we really don't have any other alerts to show, if again, if anybody has any questions, comments, feel free. Just type them in the chat box or the question and answer box.
Super quiet room.
Yeah, as everybody's still waking up from the weekend. But this is sort of like this is what trading is. You get some alerts, you get some, you draw some charts, and then you just sort of wait to see what it does as you sit and watch this. We'll say for those of you who may have missed it, they didn't have a pre-launch announcement of 4 new trading EAs that's coming out. They haven't opened them up for sale yet, but they're very, very close to doing so. I would expect within the next week or so, you're going to have a couple pretty exciting pieces of software coming out. These are ones that are pretty much, it's not a manual trading. These are all pretty much you turn them on and let them go, kind of like the Alexander and Einstein. They've been tested, forward tested, and back tested, and everything else, and the results have been pretty impressive.
Yeah, I haven't seen that video. I'm going to watch the video today. Was that the one where the developers were on it as well?
Yeah, they had the developers of the software on, and they were talking about and explaining how it works and give you a little bit of a background on their history and their what they did and why they developed what they did. And it was a pretty interesting article or webinar. But I said they have four different pieces of software coming out. And I think part of the theory is going to be is that you're going to maybe want to, and the nice thing about it is if you have Alexander or Einstein, you can switch from one week to the next. You can switch it back and forth without having to change your subscription. You can buy other subscriptions. But if, let's say you want to have, one's called Gearbox. Let's say you want to use Gearbox instead of Alexander Einstein, you can just switch your subscription for that week to Gearbox and Einstein to the gearbox, and you can just run it with the same subscription. You don't have to buy another subscription.
I really like that idea.
Yeah, it's nice that because if one doesn't seem to be working the way you want it to be working, it gives you the opportunity to just switch uh, methodologies of
Switch gears,
software.
so to speak.
Yeah, because I mean, the bottom line is what happens with trading so often is that a method works for a little while, then it stops working, but another method starts working better, and this way you can kind of switch back and forth as the markets dictate of which ones become a little bit more lucrative than others.
Which is great because you can continue to build your account, I suppose, while you're
Yeah.
waiting for, the other ones to work the same.
Yeah. Again, I would urge everybody if you do that to run them in demo for at least a couple weeks to get a feel for how they work and what they're doing. But it's pretty exciting stuff. I'm really looking forward to the gearbox to start putting that one on.
Yeah, so am I. Tyler gets everybody excited about it when he starts talking so passionate.
I'm just ready to start see it out there for public use here. Guess there's a few more details that they have to work out to be able to get it available.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Is there any other pair that anybody would like to take a look at while we're waiting for this? Like I said, we pretty much hit the target or near the target for this one. This one could, this thing could go on for the rest of the day in the same manner, just keep bouncing back and forth, break a level, bounce back and forth, break a level. But right now we got pretty close to our 7 pips, at least I did. And is there any other pair that anybody would like to take a look at that might be of interest to them? Now's your chance.
Speak up, everybody.
Let's see, what time is it now? It is
It's 8:54.
8:55. So, but yeah, well, hopefully another 5 minutes, maybe we'll get another alert here. And we'll see if so we're only going until 9:30 this morning.
Christine wants to see Euro USD.
Euro USD. Okay, let's see if we can pull that up. Let's see. Euro USD. Here
Good job, Leslie. Leslie says she's got her pips for the day, so she's happy.
All right, thank you. Good job, Leslie. Now I got my pips for the day as well. Then it's time to go and do something else. And that's the key. That's what I'm finding the key is just part of the reason we trade is because you wouldn't have a life. And you don't really have much of life if you're sitting here in front of the computer all day long waiting for trades. That's one nice thing about these expert advisors, that they just sort of do it. You have to trust it, but it'll do it for you. And with this manual wedge trading, is what I like is that I can normally sit down here by 6:30 in the morning, and usually by 9:30 I'm done for the day. I get my 7 pips or 5 pips and go out and do something else for the day that might be fun. And then you can also have the automatic software that's that the EAs are running on that can do the rest of the work while you're out playing. All right, so this is a daily chart of one thing about the Euro USD is I'm kind of looking to see really where this thing is going. And you can see that for the last week and a half, this thing's been trading inside of a range. These are daily candles. And so this comes all the way back, and this is a range it's actually trading in. And right now it's basically going sideways. But if you look at this thing going sideways, you can always find a time frame where you'll see that it's actually trending. So if I pull it down to a 4-hour chart, you can see this is actually starting to trend. It's trending down here, but still inside this daily range box. So I think that's significant. because this thing had a nice big move. You can see where this thing had a nice big move starting all the way back here at the middle of July. And that's pretty much where there was some quantitative easing going on with the US dollar. Came up here, and now it's just been range bound pretty much. So as this thing becomes range bound, you can actually draw another fib line, a series of fibs on this range right here. And when it gets down to the lower 25% or the upper 25%, it's maybe worth looking to see if you can find a wedge or some sort of a wedge pattern inside this area. If it doesn't alert you with one, if you're bound and determined to trade this regardless, you can use that as somewhat of a guideline as far as once it gets down into these lower sections. Let me just draw this. There's our demand zone, and up here is going to be our supply zone. Hang on, of course, I have to answer this real quick. Excuse me for a minute.
I see your request there, Samuel, too. We'll have Al have a look at the Kiwi yen when he's done with this one, okay?
We have an appliance that's not working. We need to try and get it set up. That's the call that I'm having here right now. I apologize for the delay, but we got to get this thing going. Excuse, pardon me for a second. I'll be right back.
I hope everybody's having a good summer so far. It seems we're halfway through it already. Can't even believe that.
Okay, I apologize for that. I'm back. And let's see, where were we? We were talking about the ranges for the Euro US. So basically, you see where it came down right here into this lower 25%. Again, this was a reference to a several weeks. Actually, this comes all the way back from to July 29th. So, and if we go to a higher time frame or lower time frame, let's see if we can find out where it came right down to this area. And so it's still ranging in between here. So right now, I'd say the top would be for, as this thing's going down, be a, if we can reach around this area, would be next supply zone. So this will be the next area of interest right up into here. Which you can see is right about in the 50% range of this move right here. But right now, there's really not much, no trade right now. This would be an area of interest also in this area. Let me see, make this red. So these are all on higher time frames, but it's areas of, and the higher the time frame, the more significant these areas are where you have these bodies and wicks. Let me take this onto a 15-minute chart. Pretty much the same area right here. And right now we've got the 62 coming down on this. We've got the crossover. So right now this is pretty much range bound between all the way down here. Here's the lower part. Here would be where I see where you may, if it penetrates this area. There's the bottom of the blue candle that came up, had a little rally based rally coming up into this area, and we'll see if this gets rejected. If it does, then it's going to come down and retest this. But that's true. That's the story on the Euro US right now.
Al?
NZD JPY.
No, I was
Yeah.
going to say, oh, yeah.
Is that it? Was that
Yes,
your question? I just saw it in the chat here.
Yeah.
Okay, NZD JPY. That's not one that we're usually doing, but let's see if we can even find it here. NZD JPY. Let me find another spot here. Euro. Looks like I'm going to have to request this one here. Add symbol. Not even sure I can pull this one up. Let's see. Here it is. Okay. Okay, this is an interesting one. Let's go to a higher time frame and see really what the overall range is right now on a daily chart. When I've never looked at it, when I usually like to start at least with the daily and just see if it's range bound at all. And this would be the range I'm looking at in here. And see where the wicks are, where the bodies of the candles are. And that would be the range I'd be looking at. Go to a 4-hour chart and see which way it's trending inside that range. Put my fib line on. Find out where the upper 25% and the lower 25% hangs out. And so we're going to do it down here. Here's the lower 25%. That would be your demand zone. And up here would be your upper 25%, which would be your supply zones. And that basically shows you where all the, it's just, again, this is all pretty much a matter of supply and demand. It's like, is it overbought? Is there more supply where it's been bought so much that this is where the supply is? Or it comes down here where, okay, the prices are low, there's more demand to buy it to bring it on up. So we keep that, so we have that range. And then we look for price action inside that. You can see this is a nice big move down. And it could very well come down. This is almost like a flag pattern right here. So we have a nice big move down, flags up. And then if it does break the bottom of this daily box, you do have the potential that's less than 38%. So right in this area, so right down, this would be the potential target area. I'm not sure there's anything over here. There is some area over here. So if it breaks this box, I'd be looking at this area right in here too for a target. And if you look all the way over to the left here, you'll see where there's a series from this point here. See, there's a series of wicks, 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 still wicks, all the way down. Here's the blue candle we're looking at right now for reference. I'll take this all the way over here, bottom of that red candle. Here's the body. You hit the last wicks, you come over, hit the body, and you bring it on down to the base of where that body is. And that's right in this, and you see that's right where that zone is. So if you can get you can see there's a little bit of a wedge pattern developing right in this area where you have this down move. This is kind of flat at top. Now we'll see where this thing goes, where it settles in. But it should probably settle in somewhere around in this area. Then once it breaks the bottom of the wedge, then this is a good target, possibly once it breaks to the bottom here. And that's all I can say about that one. Let's go back to our US CAD and see how it's doing. Well, it did finally get down. It broke a little bit, but now it came right back down. This is where our target 1 was. And now it's coming back up to retest the so not much change in that. We barely got our 5 or 7 pips out of it. But it's still a potential as a winning trade. Depends if you're going for the full 7 and if you got the spread or not. I'm not sure. Depending on what broker you use, you may or may not have gotten that spread out of there. And right now it's 9:08. We don't have any new alerts yet, so it still could be a pretty quiet morning. Any other pairs you want to maybe you want to look at? Not much action today.
Not really, no. Actually, right now I'm in a US yen. Could we maybe just have a quick look at it?
US yen, US yen, US yen. Let's see, New Zealand yen. Let's go to US yen. And let's see, let's take all this off here. I'm going to go back to our daily chart and see what the range is on a daily. Now it did break. Here's the daily range and broke. This was last week, I believe, or 2 weeks ago. So we have this region right here. Oh, this one's kind of all over the place, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
This is an area, this is a significant area. I would say that's a significant area of supply. And over here, here's a wick. Follow the wicks down, all the way down. This would be the next area of demand right in this area.
Where's that? Oh, right there.
So there, and I'd be pulling it down to, that's where the last wick is. So we have this wick here, which is, it came right down to this region right in here. But there was much more coming in from the bottom, taken on up to the top there.
Seems to slowly.
So that's on a daily. So let's go to a 4-hour chart and see if it makes any more sense to us. And this was range. This was all pretty much last week's range right in here. So if I go from here to here, now it's in the upper 25%, and the lower 25% is down this area. So here's the wick. Here's a drop. Here's a base area. Here's our doji. That's significant. So I would probably tweak this zone into this area right in here. Right about like that. It came up. It did test it. It got a level on the level right now. This one came up, tested it. Now, if it can break through the bottom of this area, it's going to be, we're looking down all the way down here to the lower 25%. And
That's
so
what I wanted to hear.
yeah, so I'd say right now it's looking like it's starting to, it came into this nice drop, came in, tested it, didn't break through the top, although it came very close to breaking, but but you have this whole area right up here ahead of it. And this one's now a little bit lower.
Oh, great.
So if you drew a trend line
Sorry to hear that. You must feel miserable.
from here to, say, this area,
Right. Oh.
and then we have an area where we have a little bit of a trend coming up this direction. It's almost like this would be almost like a wedge. You can almost draw a wedge with this.
Right.
Let's see if we can. We have the low, we have a high, we have a lower high, higher low, or lower high, higher low. Here's our wedge right in this area. If this thing can break through here, it could be coming all the way down into this. This would be the first point it'd be tested.
Please tell him I hope he feels better.
It's right in this area.
Sure. Okay, no problem. Whatever, just let me know where you can fit us in.
And so this would be, yeah, this is what I'd be looking at for a wedge with this. We have the trend line here. We have a trend line up here. If it breaks, this would be the first point of a target for if it breaks. This is on a 4-hour chart, so could be a long ways down there. So we're looking at, let me put this onto a target here. And that's what we'd be looking at with that. Let's go to a 15-minute chart. Tweak this on over. And so we're looking for, here's our anchor.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a hit, near hit. These are all near hits. So this area is a significant. Yeah, I would see if it broke to here, you could be possibly looking at a lower section down in this area.
Well, fingers crossed.
Yeah, this is right at the 50. You can see this is probably right at the 50%. Here's your 38.2. Here's your 61.8. And this is right about in the middle, which is pretty much your 50% range of where that wedge was of this move, or of the AC trend line. Came up into our supply, looking for it to come on down.
Okay.
Okay.
No, thank you, Al.
Let's go back to our U.S. We did have a British U.S. earlier today at 5:30. Let's see if that's done anything that's of significance here. So this was 5:30, and I drew the wedge. We had this anchor down here, a 15-minute chart, and it was a descending wedge. So I'm looking at start the A up top, bring it down to where I had the last significant pivot high, which is right around the 62 area. Here's my B. Bring my B to the D, tucked it in as close to the wedge as I could, and waited for, and you can see where it broke out the bottom, came out the bottom, and now it's looking to retest the top area. This is this red line is a significant higher time frame wedge line or trend line, and you can see where it came right up and tagged that. So you have you have the AC line, which is the yellow one. You have the higher trend line, which was started from all the way up in this area. And actually, if I moved it on up, you can see where I have the anchor. Here's a hit, here's a hit, here's a hit. The C pretty much hit right on that. So this is a significant area right up in here. If it breaks through there, we'd be looking at. So here was the Here's a red candle. So here's the wick that we're looking at. So here's a zone. This is sort of a supply zone that we'd be looking, that I'm concerned with, is this area right in here where we have, there's where my A is. I have a candle. Here's my red candle closed, and I'm going to move the wick over to the top where that wick is, which is right there. Here's a supply zone. So if this thing breaks up, it's got to get through that before it goes up higher. Once it goes higher, look at all my series of wicks. Here's a wick. Once it breaks that, there's a small zone, but this is the more significant one right up in here. This is all on the 15-minute chart, so I'd be looking at from here down to this area right in here. So this is a level and a level. If it breaks this, it's going to have to get through that first. There's probably less to the downside. If you come all the way over here to the downside, it's got the D area. It's got to get through that. Here's your B. This has already challenged it. This moved down when it broke the D, came down, couldn't hold the A, came back up. Now it's retesting. So right now, this is really the new area that's actually looking at. Anchor, have that hit. Now we're still looking for another hit over on this side, but now this is beyond where the wedge was. The wedge was here, but since it already broke and already tagged, it couldn't break through this. This wedge alert was, in my mind, it's already over, but you can redraw the wedge if you want to bring it on out. And now this is a new range. You have a high, a low, a lower high, a higher low. There's nothing wrong with redrawing. And now this, you see where they have another trend line. This red trend line is still holding. Here's a lower high. So you can actually almost even bring this over here with a small hit over in that area to take this one off. You can see this is only probably going to be about, see, that's 86 to 82. This is a 4 pip wick above the trend line where it breached. I still like it up here a little bit better. This thing still could come up and retag that. So this was the British pound alert. It's at 5:30 this morning. If it breaks the top of this, the first obstacle is going to be this box right here, and that's 15 pips. That's enough room. If it breaks the top, you have enough room to get your 7 pips out of that. And we'll see what kind of strength we have. The British pound is stronger on the US by 5. So right now the dollar is the weakest on this, on the 15-minute charts. The dollar is now the weakest currency. The British pound is second strongest. So I would not be wanting to take this thing short, and you could possibly take this one to break of this upper wedge. You could take that. This is actually working into, this might actually turn into a nice little trade here, actually. Got a 2 pip range. Find our 2 pips. That's 82.6 to 84.6. Right about to there.
Ten minutes left in the session now.
Thank you, Eva. Actually, when I see this like nice little move up, and here's a small little intermediate wedge developing right in here. So if we have, let's see, and let's say we're looking at it, this move is moving up, so it'd be ascending. So if you want, you could start it from here. This is not an alert. This is just something freehand drawn to here. We had this little area, this little wick right in this area. It says we're basically just looking straight price action analysis. We have this little zone right here, this little wick. We'll keep this wick on top. This is a 1 minute chart, so this is all pretty well fine tuned here. So go to a 5 minute chart. This is going to be a little bit more advanced type of stuff here, but we have you have this little red candle inside these blue candles. If it can break through that, it may have enough punch. You may be able to get a earlier entry to, but you're getting so close to the top of the wedge. Let's see how many pips do we have up to the top here, where this candle is. That's 10 pips. So you could possibly, if this thing breaks through, there's a little bit of a wedge right there. Now you got this wick right up here. That's the only thing I would be concerned about. You have that wick, it's got to get through that. I would not take this thing too much earlier. I'd probably wait for it just to go and break the wedge. But if it does break the wedge up here, you have a nice little target area up. And this thing could still just be trading in beside this range right in here. But we did have a nice little break to the downside. This could actually be a nice little move to the downside. If we move this down here, we have our trend. Here's a little trend line. Make that our anchor. This is our C hit. Move this all the way over to here. Let's see where our D is. Take the moving averages off, and I think in this case, you're probably better off in just waiting for it to break through the wedge. Because this could have been a head fake too. This thing could go up higher to the upside, or it could come down and retest this area down here, which is where our D is. Hard to say right now. I'd wait for the next alert to see what happens. Any other questions? We have 5 minutes left. Any other questions? Last chance until tomorrow. I said with this British US, I said here's where it broke over here around this area. It broke, came down. So this trade is really done for at least for right now. I see you can draw secondary wedges if you choose. I would suggest you really know what you're doing before you do that. But you certainly can see that this thing has a nice move down. Here's a nice bit drop, based right in here. It took out this base, so this one no longer is in effect. And so this is where the original wedge was. It broke it, but now it's trading in a new range right now. Here's the range it's trading in. If you look at a daily chart, see what it looks like on a daily chart for overall range. Let's take all this off. We'll just go this real quick one more time before we leave here. Here's our daily, this is the daily range right in here. And that goes all the way back to beginning of July. So here's the top, here's the bottom. Take it on across. Let's just make this, let's just make, let's just make this white here. Thin this up a little bit. Take the background out. So this is the range that we're really looking at from the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Last week and a half, this is the range that's been pretty much stabilized in. And so we go to a 4-hour chart, see if we can find where it's trending anywhere. Let's draw our Fibonacci lines, see what the range is between in this box. Here's the upper 25%, here's the lower 25%. So we make it here to, this is where the demand is. Up here is where the supply is, into this area. This is the range it's in. Bring it down to a 15-minute chart and see if we have any type of formation that would give us some reason to get into take a trade. And right now it bounced down here. So it found some buyers down here, came back up, found some buyers again. But right now there's no trade with this that I see. This was the move this morning where it came down and retested this area right in here. 530 bar was, or was it 515? 530. 530 right in there. Here's a pivot high, here's a pivot low. And we drew a wedge. It was a descending. As you see, this move is going down, descending in here. See, here's our D. It broke, came down in here. Now it's looking to see if it can break here to come on up to this area. That'd be my assessment of that. So it broke the bottom, gave us a few pips to the downside, came back into the wedge. Now if it breaks to the upside, this would be the next target up area in here. And on that note, it's 9:30. Any other questions, comments? One going once, twice, 3 times before we go. I'd like to thank everybody for coming in, and we'll see you tomorrow, same time, same station. See you then.